Hey everyone, welcome back to By Its Cover. I'm Leah and today we are talking about my book history. So first I just have to apologize because I didn't have a video ready this week. I'm filming this day of, if I even get it up tonight, maybe tomorrow. But I ran out of my backup stock and then I made the great decision to reread the entire Darker Shade of Magic series this month instead of reading something new that I could then review for you. So that's my bad. This isn't really a tag, but I feel like I saw something similar floating around out there, and if I find whoever created it, I'll link it below. But basically, I'm just going to be walking you guys through books that kind of define my reading career experience, I guess. I'm not going to talk about every book I've ever read, obviously, because that would take a long time, but these are just kind of definitive markers that I remember from my life and like how they've shaped my reading preferences, basically. So we're going to skip like childhood, elementary school and all that and kind of start with middle grade, because the first series that wasn't a kid's book that I ever remember being super excited about was the Magic Treehouse series. And those were definitely like low, middle grade level, teach you how to read, but just the whole concept of like a time traveling treehouse and then learning about history, which I really do like learning about, but usually in a more ancient context. Like I really don't care about American history. So that was kind of my first baby step into a lifelong journey of books. Then very soon after that, and probably the most definitive book series I've read in my entire life, is Harry Potter. I quite literally grew up with these books. I remember we had pre-ordered book one here, this exact copy, and when it arrived at our house, I wasn't allowed to start reading it because my mom was reading Bunnicula to me, which is something I got like at the school book fair, which, wow, if you remember Scholastic School book fairs, like throwback. I really didn't care about Bunnicula. I really just wanted to get Harry Potter because there's already hype for it. And this was at a point where a chapter book like this was still too difficult for me, and my mom read it out loud to me. And it definitely progressed through the entire series of her reading to me and then me reading out loud to her so that she could correct any mistakes I made or tell me what a word means that I wasn't familiar with. And then eventually me just stealing them and reading them on my own. So when I say I literally grew up with Harry Potter and it literally taught me how to read, I'm quite serious about it. The next book milestone in my life is a bit of a dark time, but I think we've all been there, and that is the Twilight series. These books were coming out when I was in middle school, but I did not find out about them until probably right before or as Breaking Dawn was about to be released. I do this great thing where I find a series right as the last book came out so I don't have to wait to read any of them, and it's great. So yeah, I hopped on this hype train really fast, and you can tell it was right before the movie was coming out because it says soon to be a major motion picture there. Immediately got all the books, immediately got merch, immediately saw the movies like on their release days. Robert Pattinson came to my mall on the movie tour. Definitely went to see him there. Doodles and notebooks, Halloween costumes, all because of this book. Like, I look back on it and I cringe a lot, but I really think it was a defining thing in fandoms, like in general, and allowing them to be a popular thing and turning something from a book, maybe not a good book, into a movie just because the fans want it. I credit Twilight with putting the release date of movies in that top bar above commercials. I saw that happen 10,000 times right after that movie. I think mall tours, like not book tours, but like mall movie tours, are Twilight's idea. Like everyone does them now. And then as we got through more and more movies, I cringed more and more, and I think I grew out of them all. But I had to have that paranormal sci-fi romance phase, like everyone. The next phase in my book history came in high school when I got into dystopians because of the Hunger Games. Once again, I read these like only a few months before Mockingjay was coming out, so I didn't have to wait too long to finish them. But my exposure to this actually came a lot earlier. I remember being at the boardwalk at the beach with my best friend, and we went into a bookstore and I saw this on the shelf and I read the synopsis and was like, whoa, that sounds really cool. Like, kids have to kill each other. But then I showed it to my friend. She's like, that's gross and creepy. Like, why would you like that? So I ended up not getting it. And then like 2 years later, I'm in 10th grade English class and we have a list of books to choose from for a project, and this was on it, and I recognized the title. I was like, hey, I'm gonna read that now. I don't think my class really still understood it all that well yet, but right after that is when the craze started picking up. And then in my senior year of high school, they decided to do a one book, one school activity where the entire school, from the students, the teachers, the faculty, the janitorial staff, like cafeteria staff, was all going to read the same book within a month, and they would do Q&As about it and raffles, giveaways, and games and contests, and that book was The Hunger Games. So me being the nerd that I am, I immediately read the first book like 2 or 3 days before the month even started, just so I could be refreshed and on top of everything for all those daily questions. And then since it was my best friend's first time reading the book that month, she immediately loved it and wanted to read book 2 and 3, so I read those along with her to remember what she was talking about. Then, because we were only still halfway through the month, I read the whole series backwards to go back to the one that school was actually talking about, and because I don't like To End on Mockingjay because it's my least favorite. And then I think I read Catching Fire one more time because that one's my favorite. So yeah, I was a little obsessed. By the way, I won the raffle movie tickets to see the movie. That was my second time seeing it. Hunger Games introduced me to this dystopian genre outside of English class. This led me to The Maze Runner, which is another series I really like, but I didn't put in this video because it's not like a milestone marker. I just went on a tangent after both of those of dystopian, like all the time, and it was a really good time in my book reading. The next book I wasn't sure if I wanted to include because it didn't feel super important to me, but I think it was more important with connecting other people and in like the bookish world, I guess, at least of YA books. And I bet you can guess it, it's the Mortal Instruments series. Also, we're coming up on 10 years of this and that blows my mind. I don't remember the exact year I started reading these books, but I do vividly remember going into my freshman year of college and making friends with other girls who had read these because we all wanted to go see the movie together. We got the tattoos at Hot Topic, that was really fun. Those are the good memories I have with this book, but I think this book also showed me the not so great side of like the bookish community. I'm gonna get so much hate for this. I am not crazy about the whole Mortal Instruments world. I really like books 1 through 3, and I really like City of Lost Souls, but I really think that it all could have been wrapped up in 3 books. I haven't read The Infernal Devices, and I'm not going to read the Clockwork series. When authors expand their world too much into so many series, I start to see it more for profit than for like enjoyment or for writing. Like, you're stuck writing one thing, you're not trying to write anything else, and it just doesn't sit well with me. I'm sorry. So this taught me that, I mean, Twilight taught me this too, but it taught me that you can start liking something and end up not liking it in the end. I do want to point out that I did go to a mall tour for this again. Got to see a Q&A and also do a meet and greet with Cassandra Clare and also Lily Collins and Jamie Campbell Bower, the actors from the movie, and that was really, really cool. And since I went by myself, I made friends with people in the line with me, and they were super nice, and I still like how books can like bring people together. And the last one I wasn't quite sure about including either, but I'm kind of going to consider it my dive back into the book world. I've said this before, but because of college, I didn't get to do a lot of reading then. I was doing a lot of activities and classes. So coming out of graduation, during the summer, I was casually reading again. But I think the book that really got me into YA series specifically again, and fantasy for sure, was the Throne of Glass series. And I have Queen of Shadows here because that's actually what I read first, and I know that's a terrible thing to do, but it was an accident. I didn't know. There's no numbers on these anywhere. and my dad had just picked it up from the library, and I already liked it too much to put it down, so I read it. But I would say this and Sarah J. Maas's writing in general has really put me back on to reading. It's led me to a lot of great other books. It's led me to start this YouTube channel. Yeah, I just love books, and that's how I started reading. That's why I read. These are what I read. I don't know if this is really interesting for you, but thanks for letting me talk about it since I didn't have anything else planned, and I just felt it was a good way to get to know me and what I've liked in the past and still like now and why I read and stuff. So thank you so much for watching. Hit like and subscribe down below if you haven't already. Go check out some cover reviews if you haven't already. And I'll try to get back to your regularly scheduled programming next week. See you guys in the next chapter.